So, shalom lekulam. Zoom members that are joining us over Zoom, welcome and thank you. And everybody here, we really appreciate just by showing up and coming here is a big support. So thank you. I feel on behalf of the people who did not go on the mission to Israel, that I felt like I was sending, at least I can send somebody that I know to go to Israel and do those important things that you did and be in the places that you've been. And I think I speak on behalf of all of us here that we really want to hear the difficult parts, the inspiring parts, where you got hope. And we'll slowly get to all those details during the evening. We will also leave time at the end for questions from the audience. So if anybody want to ask something, please keep that in mind. So just first of all, thank you again for going on behalf of all of us in BT. We'll just start if everybody can introduce themselves and maybe answer the question of why did you go on the trip?
I'm Rabbi Yogev. Hi, everyone. Hi. So from the very day, from that horrific day, October 7th, I wanted to get to Israel. I just felt we have a shul to run and we have a community here and there's needs here as well. So when that matched, when I could go with the community to Israel, that felt extremely fulfilling. And I just wanted to get my hands and my body there, to be doing something, to be connected. You donate, you get involved, but just to feel like I'm a part of what's going on and be with my people. That's really what I wanted. And we achieved that for those few days. Very powerful. We're hoping to continue that momentum as well going forward.
I'm Nelson Cohn. I kind of serendipitously fell into going on the trip. I found out about it a few weeks before it was actually planned to happen. I ran into Rabbi Yogev at Shabbos services, I think maybe 3 weeks before the time of when the departure was supposed to occur. We talked about it. He said, "You ought to come. It's a good group. I think you'll fit in real well." And even though I may have delayed a few things along the way, but inside joke. But I felt like same as Rabbi Yogev. I just felt that I felt I could offer more than just donating to various organizations that needed our financial support during this time. And I'm very glad I did, and felt good to be doing something more than writing out checks and otherwise. So that's why I did it.
Thank you, Nelson. My name is Akiva Gross. I went because I had an extreme sense of guilt, maybe being here and not there. Don't know particularly why. We have some family there, mostly on my wife's side, but so I don't really have any intimate connection there. But I did feel an extreme sense of guilt not being there after what happened on October 7th, and I think I maybe have more guilt being back now since we were there. But like Nelson said, giving money to different things, which I think we're all doing, it didn't feel quite right in terms of what I wanted to, the manner I wanted to help. So I wanted to go there and help in other ways, whatever ways we could as visitors going there. And that's why I went.
My name is Randy Getz. I plan to go to Israel this year anyway. I wanted to be there for the 75th year of Israel's existence, having been there for the 25th and the 50th. So just wanted to continue that tradition. And I couldn't go at the actual time when Yom HaAtzmaut was, but was planning to go. And then October 7th happened, and I thought maybe I wasn't going to get there, but I just had this burning desire immediately to go and to try to figure out how to get there and to be there and be supportive. Found out about through my wife who came to an event here of this trip going, and immediately signed up and really wanted to be a shaliach from our community from this shul to Israel and get there and share with them what we could.
Hi everyone, my name's Ita El Toydman. Like a lot of Jews, I felt a pull as soon as October 7th happened, and I kept feeling it up until the time I bought that ticket. It felt like even if it was going to be a drop in the bucket, we felt the draw to do something to help, to do as much as we can for as many people as we can, even if it was going to be a short amount of time.
Hey, everybody, I'm Sarah Rubin. I think that the reason I took this trip with BT is also the same. I wanted to be there, I wanted to see our loved ones and see our people in Israel. But I have young children at home, so it was like, you know, how are we gonna get there are we gonna take the whole family? What's it gonna look like? And then this opportunity came around and it was perfect for me to be able to get there physically and help as much as I could. And yeah, so.
Hi, everybody. I'm Shoshi Ponsak. And obviously echoing everybody's sentiments that, you know, the reason that I went was to feel that we all felt that magnetic pull on October 7th to go to Israel, to be in Israel. I think for me, it was also this idea of experiencing the grief. It almost felt to me like going and paying like a shiva call to the state of Israel. And then being able to give back, obviously, in the ways that we did. And while it did feel like a drop in the bucket, I felt we did the things that we needed to do to feel that we made a difference. And also, I think the second part was to be an emissary from this community to Israel. I think it's really important to show a support from a large congregation like this to Israel, to all the organizations that we went to. And I know we'll talk more about this throughout the evening, but the people in Israel, you know, feeling that connection to American Jews, to diaspora Jews, and how, you know, we connect with them. So that was why I went.
Hi, I'm Peggy Garfunkel, and I think everybody pretty much said it all. But maybe a slightly different for me was, I'm not sure I thought about that I needed to go until I saw just a little blurb in the bulletin, and I'm like, I have to go, you know, and I just decided I was going. I didn't know anything about the trip. I didn't ask any of my friends if they were going, and I just had to go. And I think I didn't know how or what, but I just felt this. I just hope I can do something that matters. And I think we did. I really do. And we'll talk more about that, but that's it.
Okay, thank you for that. The way we build this evening is I asked the panel members to choose a picture from the trip and to share a few words about the story, about the picture of what happened there. Obviously, it wasn't an easy choice. There were many pictures that everybody wanted to share, and we'll share whatever we can throughout the evening. But we'll start with our first story and picture right now. Zoom members, can anybody just say that everything's okay? You hear us, you see us, thumbs up, just so we know it's all okay? Yeah, thank you, thank you. And how do I share the screen? Share screen for that. No. Okay. So this is obviously everybody from the mission. Yeah.
A great picture of me.
You were picking the team.
Yeah. He picked way too much kohlrabi.
Right.
Okay.
So many broccoli. Okay, this is,
You want to minimize it?
yeah.
Yeah. I just want to make sure they can see the picture.
Okay. The picture speaks for themselves, right? So the hotel, and it is working a little bit. We also have meetings with evacuees and making tzitzit for the soldiers. And this is the picture that Shoshi chose. She's going to tell us about that.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I actually wrote down some notes, but I'll be brief. I have my phone also to look at the picture, just to have the words in front of me. So this is a picture from an art installation in Hostage Square, and in Hebrew, that's Kikar HaChatufim. So first of all, an interesting, just very interesting note is that in Israel, the word for the people who are kidnapped is Chatufim, which really means kidnapped, versus when we say hostage, we really, the word in Hebrew is shvoyim. And the difference that I learned in Hostage Square was that when we daven about the shvoyim in Shul, we're talking really about, people who are captured during wartime. And Chatufim are people who were kidnapped, civilians who were kidnapped, people who were kidnapped from their beds, from a music festival. And so that's a big difference, I think, in Israel, is that they're really thinking about these people, not as necessarily shvoyim, but chatufim. And to me, it was a distinction. But so Hostage Square is filled with art installations. It started as a Shabbat table. I'm sure many people have seen that art installation. It was started by an artist. It's right in front of the Tel Aviv Art Museum. And the Thursday after the attacks, it was somebody put a Shabbat table in Kikar HaChatufim, and it represented all of the hostages who were not home for Shabbat. After that point, it became really a place of gathering, both for davening. There was Kabbalat Shabbat there were services there, and really a place of unity. But some things that struck me about it was that when we went, there were a lot of art installations that had popped up, over the course of the past 6 months. It was also a place where there were just people coming. I mean, there were school children going to the art museum. It really felt like this had been there forever, but it really had popped up. And in addition to that, there are also the families of the hostages who are able to come and speak with people publicly, and the people from all of the kibbutzim who are able to talk about their communities. So it's really a place of, there's a palpable urgency in terms of, wanting to not pressure, but, get the hostages home. Obviously that's a big part of what's happening there, but there's a lot of grief also. There's grief coming from the people who are there, and it's, it's very palpable. Here, I think there's this macro idea of what's going on in Israel. We see it as, there's a war in Gaza, there's all these things, but these are people's families, these are people's, homes, and that felt very micro. This particular art installation is an installation, it's called The Tunnel, and it is literally a tunnel that you can walk through. And it says, visitors can go through the tunnel and write a message to demand for the return of hostages. Visitors are invited to take pictures and tag the tunnel in order to keep the hostages as a priority. But the one thing that struck me in this is it also says, an installation by artist Roni Levevi simulates the terrible reality into which our hostages have been thrown, while the light at the end of the tunnel is a beacon of hope. And that was the sort of the twist that I gathered from this place, is that in Judaism, we value every person. Every person is a life, and that's what you feel here. You feel that every single hostage is represented. And while there's incredible heaviness and sadness, there's also this sense of hope. And I think that's the reality of Israel, right? I mean, the literal, anthem of Israel is Hatikva. I actually printed the lyrics because I was like, I have to look at this. But the reality is that while there is, this is Israel. Israel is a place where we talk about being in the land, being there, and that there's, the translation is, then our hope, the 2,000-year hope, will not be lost. And I think to me, that is what this meant. It was this very perfect, representation of how we feel as Jews and how we feel as, obviously the Israelis. And it just really gave a sense of hope, even though there's this deep sense of urgency and grief.
Thank you, Shoshi. Wow, that was very powerful and inspiring. Thank you. Let's move straight to Nelson, but I mean, I'm sure everybody can relate to that feeling of the light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you. Hey, Nelson. Yeah. Thank you.
We get this first.
Grab water first.
So, that's me, in case you didn't notice. I'm standing, this was taken in Sidney Road. On the second floor of the yeshiva, that's right there in the town. There is a menorah made out of rocket shells that were sent over from Gaza, probably many months over time. So they made a menorah out of the rocket shells, which is kind of speaks for the resiliency of our people to take something that's trying to destroy you, make something out of it. So, but that particular day, we were met by was the head of public relations at the yeshiva that we met. So he sort of guided us through the initial part of the day at Sidney Road. He was telling us the stories of what happened that day. Sidney is a southern town, not too far from Gaza. One of the first towns attacked that day. So he was telling us various stories of heroism from, I think it was some civilians there. I think there might have been some IDF reserves that might have been around. And on that day, there was a police station that's right in town, which was overrun by the terrorists. So one of the stories that was told was of I believe it was a soldier who was shot several times and had to crawl to save his life to enter a building across the ways. There's a picture that I have here, but in the picture there's a mural of Sidney Road that was made several months afterwards, and in there's a picture of the wall itself where there's a window, and this particular person who was shot several times was able to get up to the window on like the third floor, and was able to get off several rounds and actually kill the sniper that was on top of the police station, and which saved many lives, as he was randomly killing people from that rooftop. So that's an example of one of the stories. And if you see that picture on Sidney Road where they have the mural, there's a window which is made bigger. There's an angel shooting an arrow, and that represents that individual that angel who saved many lives by being a sniper of its own, taking down that terrorist. And there were just many other stories like that, which just demonstrated the bravery and the heroism of non-infantry and non-military personnel that really represents the neshama of our people. And I found that particular, for me, that hit home with me just amongst all the other stories you're going to hear. For me, that was quite resounding in nature and represented the whole our state and our people. And I'm glad I was there to hear it, and I just thought I would share that, and that's all I got.
Thank you. Beautiful. We'll get one more story and then we'll do a question for.
So on the trip, every day we had an itinerary of things we were going to do. And this was not on it. This is a shiva. This is an announcement of this that guy on the bottom left there. Simon Schlumach. And this was attached to this was attached to a post right outside his apartment building, announcing that this is where this kid's shiva was going to be. So it was in sort of a opportune. It was an opportunity to. Okay, so it was very sad, but a very uplifting opportunity to sit Shiva for a fallen soldier. So we stopped to do that. This kid was an amazing guy. He was a lone soldier from Kazakhstan. Lone soldiers, as we know, is somebody that comes on their own. They don't have family. They come to Israel and then they join the IDF. He's not Jewish. His father is Jewish. His mother was not. His father lives in Kazakhstan. Who was there at the dinner. Not a religious guy at all. But this son, and there's a backstory. I think who knows what the family life was like in Kazakhstan. I think he didn't know his siblings, and there were some other things that we learned when we were there. But we had an opportunity to sit Shiva for this guy who's in Sankhanin. He was killed in Gaza City, and we went to the Shiva, which was a tent behind the apartment building. And it was empty except for his dad was outside with, I think it was his cousin, his uncle, one of the two, uncle. And then so we have this group comes in, they don't know who we are, what we're doing. But we made it clear we were there to sit Shiva, to try and bring comfort to his father, the family. And then when we got there, I think the word got around and other people from the building came down and the tent kind of filled up relatively quick. One of the family members, I think, then brought in all the baked goods and stuff and tried to really kind of make us feel at home in the Shiva tent.
That's one of the reasons why he chose this.
Right, for the baked goods. Yeah.
Those are good treats too.
Yeah, no, yeah, so it was a very sad but very uplifting thing where we were there to do chesed and do whatever we could to help out. But to bring some joy to that family in the way that we could, just some random Americans walking into the Shiva tent was a powerful moment for me. And I think on our way out, one of somebody, I think they asked us who we were, we told them we just stopped in to sit Shiva, and they were very very thankful that we did. And I wasn't sure how the family or how we would be received, but we brought to that moment in time, we uplifted the family in the way that we could. They appreciated that we were there and that we cared about their son, their child, their family member, their community member, whom we never met, obviously didn't know, and went out of our way to sit Shiva for this young man. And that was a very powerful experience for me.
Thank you. Thank you all. The stories are so inspiring, and I could sit here for hours, right? We'll take a little break from the stories and we'll ask you 2 questions. I'll ask Peggy, Shoshi, and Nelson to answer the first one, and then the others. So at the beginning of the war, many people went to Israel. This is just pictures for us on the background. Many people went to Israel to visit the kibbutzim, to see the places, the ruins. And then we started hearing, I would say, complaints, or people raised up the question, is going to Israel now the best choice or the best use of Israel resources or our resources at time of war, at time when Israel is in this critical situation? And is this the right time for us to go? I'd love to hear your input about this now that you've been there, and what do you think about that?
Ladies first.
So I asked myself questions like that before we went, if God forbid this was one of my children, any of the horrible things that happened to anybody or any other person I know, would I care that some, people from America come over to talk to me or look at me or whatever. So I questioned that, but you know, obviously I wanted to go and I went. And I think the bottom line is that everywhere we went, every place we volunteered and just gave of our time and our abilities, whether we were picking kohlrabi or wrapping presents for children or packing boxes or making a Shiva call or any of the other, and we did so much in those 4 days. And I kept thinking, you know, like nobody could have programmed all of these people to be so receptive to us and to want to hug us and to, you know, make us cry, you know, when they cry. And that's not even counting the airplane tickets and the food that we bought and the hotels that we stayed in and our driver who hadn't worked really in months, or even our quote unquote tour guide, you know, hadn't had real full-time. Well, he's also a rabbi, that's why I said quote unquote tour guide. You know, hadn't had real full-time employment. So, but more importantly, what I said before was that I really do think we touch people and I think it matters. So hope I didn't steal everybody's thunder.
Not at all. Okay, so I took the question more as like, you know, does it matter that we're going and viewing these places? And I think I struggled with that as well. You know, are we going, is it voyeuristic? Is it like going and seeing a place and like, you know, we're going in and we're looking at people's homes or, you know, burned out. At least it just, there was a part of me that felt almost like that was going to be, you know, horrible for the people who experienced it. But then I started thinking about how we have this concept of bearing witness and how it's really, really necessary. I mean, and of course, talking about it this week, I think even more so, because we actually have a mitzvah to do it. I mean, we read in this week's Parsha, you know, Parshat Zachor, that we have to remember. And that's a really big concept. I don't think I had thought about it until after we got back, but that's, I would say also one of the main reasons I went, because we have to remember that's a mitzvah in the Torah. You know, Zachor is a big part of who our essence, and it's about remembering, you know, this moment and passing it to the future generations so that they understand, you know, what happened here, what, you know, what I can say that I went and I saw with my eyes and I walked on the land and I witnessed the people. I mean, I know Sarah is going to talk about the Nova site, but talking about, you know, like going there and seeing that is, you know, it's powerful. And I think that's a big piece of for me, why it did matter. And again, it did feel a little bit like we were, you know, sometimes intruding, but I think, you know, what Peggy said is true. Everyone there, they were grateful. They were, it almost felt like they were happy that we were coming and being with them. And so, you know, again, I think it's just a matter of really fulfilling that mitzvah.
Well, for me, I never felt ambiguous in any way that if there was a right or wrong about the reason for going and what the details of our mission would entail. I just knew in my gut that this was the right thing to do. And I trusted Rabbi Yogev when he approached me and said, this will be good for you, a good group, and we're gonna make a difference. I totally trusted myself to him, and I was absolutely right in doing so, looking back on it now. And the only thing that I'll add that I can add to what's been said already is that if there was any question that our presence was not welcome or it felt incongruous for any reason. All you had to do was look at the eyes of the people who we met along the way that were, and they're, by our being there, they looked at us and really appreciated us being there in any capacity. So very simply, I just knew it was right just by the looks in their eyes and by their handshakes, their hugs. And you feel that that's, you know, you don't need any words, you know it's there.
Thank you. Just to add to everything that you've said, I have a friend who's evacuated from her house to a hotel with her family. And she actually gave birth at a hospital and then came back to staying in the hotel with her family. And I asked her this question as well. I said, do you feel like all the visitors, is it too much for you? And she said, I'm not even kidding. It's the highlight of our day, of our week, when we have people coming, especially, there's also people from within Israel, of course, but especially people coming from abroad. We feel that hug, that sense of we're not alone. We did not go through something and now we have to handle it. The Jewish people are hugging us. And so just like you said, they feel like they feel this hug, and not to say all the financial support that comes to giving jobs to people in Israel now and seeing with ourselves and bearing that witness with us. So thank you for your answers. Question to other member of the panel. I'm sure there were a lot of moments from all kinds of emotion, happy and sad and inspiring, and we'll hear more stories after this question. I do want to ask specifically about an inspiring moment or uplifting moment that you felt. How did you come to that in a place that is so scary, upsetting, difficult to be in right now? I want to go first.
I think the trip was full of uplifting moments. Some of the biggest were just seeing how much people appreciated us being there and how genuine they were in sharing that appreciation. But just to see that with everything that Israel has been through, that life goes on. People are getting up and going to work, and they're sending their kids to school, and they're making the best of their environment and just living each day. To me, that was incredibly inspiring. Look, we traveled as this wonderful group, and I just being with the group and seeing the kindness and the sincerity of everybody in our group was inspiring. When Shoshi talked about the tunnel, and there were kids there that they've been going to an art exhibit or as part of school, or maybe just came there, and walking through this tunnel, which should have felt like the most solemn thing. Coming out the other end, these kids saw me and saw I wasn't an Israeli and started to talk to me, and we're just amazed that, to hear that this group came from Baltimore to be there. And they wanted to tell me all about their relatives that live in Australia and New York, wherever it was, and to share that we're all part of this community. So that to me was just a few of the inspiring things that happened.
One of the visits that we went to was the rehab hospital at Tel Shomer, where soldiers are. One of the places we visited was Tel Shomer Hospital rehab for the soldiers who were injured. And these were the soldiers that had been there for several months with the intention of rejoining society. These were the quote lucky ones that even if they've been in the hospital injured really, really badly for many, many months, they were happy and joyful. They were joking around. For a lot of them, they'd been there for a while, and they happened to be there on visiting day, which was election day. It was Tuesday, nobody had school, nobody had work, so they went to visit their family members. And as our group was leaving, there was a family that was coming in, a mom with about 6 young kids. I held the elevator for her, and I said, "Are you visiting a soldier?" And they said, "Yeah, we're gonna go visit our dad." And I said, "Well, so I gave her one of the notes that one of the students here decorated it, wrote letters for the soldiers. And I said, "This is for you, love from Baltimore, Maryland." And she says, "Oh, I'm from Potomac." Of course, of course. They left, and that kind of just broke me. I was just so angry on their behalf that their dad has been in the hospital for so many months, all these soldiers, and these are the lucky ones. These are the ones that have the chance to go on. And it happened to be as we were leaving this area, we saw a rainbow. We were all kind of like sad and angry for these soldiers, and all of a sudden we see this rainbow, and take what you will from that. But for me, it was very inspiring to see these soldiers, to see these Israelis who are ready and willing to go back tomorrow, even if they got injured. But the resilience of the Jewish people is just amazing.
So my moment, there's so many moments really being in Israel and seeing, like they're saying, the resilience of the Israeli people, the Jewish people. But I wanted to tell this one story because it's fun. So one of the days we went and we volunteered at this place called Aaron's Angels, and I won't go into too many details, but I will say that it's placed in the bottom floor of a parking garage. And we spent a few hours working there, and we had a lot of funny stories from that day. But what I loved was that in the middle of this chaos, we can call it chaos, was this DJ stand. And it was kind of weird. It was like, we're volunteering, we're packing boxes, we're doing all these things. And then there's this DJ stand. Well, come to find out, when the air raid siren goes off, this place is actually a bomb shelter for all the people that are in the vicinity. So there's office buildings and I don't think any homes, but hundreds of people stream in there to hide, wait it out. And that's when the DJ stand comes to life. And apparently this DJ stand, when the siren goes off, they run and they turn on dance music, and all of the people stream into this bomb shelter and they dance. And to me, that's just, it's Israel. They're so resilient, and they find the good and find ways to get through, and they just keep going. So that was my story.
Thank you very much. I feel like we all need those moments of dancing, maybe, and some inspiration, and thank you for that. We'll go straight to our next story from Itael. I think everybody recognized this path from Ben Gurion. We want to hear the story today.
So our group was based out of Jerusalem. We stayed in a hotel there, and we went to different cities around every day. We kind of noticed that, and we were told that we saw that Tel Aviv basically took on the hostages as their project. They are the hostage square kind of came up organically, and every exhibit there was just brought by someone who felt strongly about it and brought it. Jerusalem had some posters and other signs of the hostages, but Tel Aviv really felt it. And I didn't really process this picture until we got home. This is the welcome hall in Ben Gurion Airport, where as soon as you walk in, there's this big display, bring them home, and then all along the path, there's pictures of the people who were taken. And I know that Jews from all over feel it, that we want these people home. We feel the pain of the families, but specifically, as soon as you walk in, you're like, I'm home. These are the people who care. These are the entire country wants them home, and you really feel it as soon as you step off the plane. So that for me was very impactful.
Thank you. I can't with the picture, right?
So can you go to another slide, actually?
Which one did you?
It was an older gentleman with his daughter.
Ah, right, this is the first.
Yeah, you look at that.
Oh, no, it's a different, PowerPoint.
You didn't put it.
It's not, no, I did, it's a different version of it, I'm sorry. I can send it to you on WhatsApp.
Sure.
Okay, so let's do Peggy first, and then we'll go back to you, thanks.
Okay, so, oops,
Oh, yeah. So this is the sign outside the rehabilitation center. And, it's interesting, I only realized today the use of the word casualties. I feel like someone took a Hebrew word and translated it into English, and it's not exactly correct. Because I think in English, casualty is someone who dies. Am I not right about that? No, it could be a casualty even if they're not dead. Okay, then I'm sorry. That is correct. So, but the white part returning to life, I thought was so symbolic of, similar to what other people have said, but so symbolic of what it means to be an Israeli, really. There's not a man, woman, or child who wasn't either directly or indirectly affected somehow by what happened on October 7th or the war that's still continuing. And of course, this is the hospital where the wounded soldiers are hopefully being rehabilitated. And the first thing you see when you walk in is this signage that tells you that they're there to return to life. And to me, that's what it means to be an Israeli. The determination to fight, not just for survival, but to live, to fight for their people, to fight for their country. It just shows up everywhere we went. My particular experience here at the hospital, I ended up speaking to this young man. I think there was actually a picture of him with you guys. And he had this unbelievable story. Yes, that's him, actually. So, Dor, he actually, he almost died twice in a way, in that he was supposed to go to the music festival with his best friend and overslept that morning. And his friend unfortunately was killed that day. And Dor felt very guilty about that. But he was also called up probably that day or the next day. And I know I read before I went, and maybe many of you did, about one day early on in the war where they called it the worst day of the war so far, when 21 soldiers were killed as they walked into a building that then exploded. So Dor went into that building with 21 other men of his unit, and all 21 were killed except for him. And he was lying in the rubble, not sure if he was alive or dead. And sorry. Oh, gosh, still 3 weeks later. His father and he sort of told us the story that, and these are not religious people at all, that he felt the arms of his friend around him, telling him that he had to live. And he crawled out, and obviously some other soldiers saw him and they dragged him. His father showed us the picture of what he looked like when they brought him into the hospital. He was burned over 80% of his body, parts of his face, were fractured, and he still needs further surgeries. But this young man says to me, and I guess to us, that he doesn't even know why he's alive, but that he knows it's for a reason. And, and all we could think of to say to him was, you don't have to figure it out today or tomorrow, but you will figure it out. And again, getting back to the signage, that's just, so every moment that was heartbreaking was almost equally inspiring and, hard to put it all into words, frankly. So that's it.
Did a good job.
Thank you.
Okay, we got you. Yeah.
So that was the picture.
Yeah, we'll share it with them.
So one of the most important things, I think this trip had, we talked about bearing witness, we talked about lending support. But I also think it's really a third thing is developing relationships, and maybe the rabbi or the synagogue in the future will talk about some ideas for how this synagogue community can enhance and develop some relationships with Israelis and the Jewish community in Israel. And this, everybody on the trip heard me probably talk about it a little bit too much, but I really wanted to visit this gentleman. His name is David Swirsky. He was the bus driver for the trip. I had my bar mitzvah in 1976. He's 90, in his mid 90s now, on this trip, and you can say only in Israel, maybe it happens in Pikesville too, but my parents became friends with David. And so much so that his daughter, Rafaela, came and spent a summer with us 2 years later. Every time I go to Israel, I visit him, and he's a Holocaust survivor. He survived Auschwitz. His parents were killed in Auschwitz. He came to Israel as a man in his early 20s, shortly after the founding of Israel. And this is a picture of him and his middle daughter. Just to show you how things kind of come in full circle. Rafaela, the girl who came and spent the summer with us in Israel, in Bel Air, she had three kids. Two of them went to the Nova Music Fest. His middle granddaughter was able to get away. His grandson was shot. And next to him, his girlfriend, his grandson's girlfriend was murdered. The grandson sort of fell partially under a car, took blood from his girlfriend's body, wiped it on his face and played dead, and that's how he survived. And it's just, so incredulous to think, 70 years later that this terrible tragedy impacted him and his family again. Sadly, his daughter, shortly after October 7th, I guess, as Shiva started taking place, there was his granddaughter's best friend was also murdered there. It was someone that Rafaela had helped raise, and Rafaela took her life. I think there's going to be a continuing mental health crisis in Israel as time goes on, and this isn't going to end next week, next month, or whatever. So just wanted to share that. It's very personal, and I am honored by this relationship that I have with this man, and it continues for years to come. And I hope we all have the opportunity to meet and know and develop relationships with people in Israel.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's to,
Good turnout.
All right, I wrote what I'm gonna say. I chose to talk about Re'im, which is the site of the Nova Festival. I think all of us were eager to get there. I think the whole trip was it was like, we knew it was coming, and it was we didn't know how to feel about it, we didn't know what it was gonna be like, but yeah, so I'm gonna just read what I wrote. It's hard to put into words what I felt while walking around the site. It's a memorial, but it's a living, breathing memorial. It felt to me like it was alive. I felt this also at Hostage Square. So it's one thing to visit a memorial, but it's another thing to know that there are people who are affected, who are still alive all over Israel, but there are people who are held hostage kilometers from where we were. We could see into Gaza when we were driving around the south, and knowing that those people are right there it felt so different than being here and thinking about those hostages. So that's what I don't know how to explain it other than saying it felt like it was alive. So there are different ways that the families and friends have chosen to remember their loved ones. They planted flowers, planted trees. They had these posts with people's faces. And you can see that their loved ones have been there and left messages or mementos. They've come up with ways for their loved one to be remembered, ways for us to all pray for the hostages that were taken from the party and pray for their return. But as a visitor, I felt like I could still hear the trees and the ground screaming. I'd never visited the sites from the Holocaust, but I can imagine there's a similar feeling. After leaving, the mood in the van was very heavy. What did we just see? What do we take from it? What do we do with this? I think we were all trying to figure it out. And Rabbi Yogev, being great, I think he wanted to help us. I think we needed help at that point. So when we drove away, he recited a couple to fill in, and he recited the Psalm 23. Probably everybody knows it, but yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for art with me, thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff comfort me. There was so much darkness on October 7th, darkness, death, evil, but that's not what the Jewish people look to. We will not fear, we will look for the light. We will live on, and we will carry all these beautiful faces with us. We will keep their memories alive. The photo in the middle is a photo of a kalanit flower. In Israel right now, all over the south, these flowers are blooming right now, and they're everywhere, and they're beautiful. I just think that these flowers, I can't get them out of my mind. I don't know about anybody else, but I can't stop thinking about the flowers that were growing there at the Nova Festival. But I think that those flowers are a reminder that new life continues in Re'im and all across Eretz Israel.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We'll give a few minutes for questions from people here, and over Zoom, you can write it on the chat and I'll read it out loud. And then we'll end with some words from Rabbi Yogev about how it is to lead this kind of mission, and maybe a story that you want to share. So I'm handing it over to the audience. If anybody has a question, what would you like to hear?
Yeah, it's all right. I don't even need.
Oh,
to-
look at that. Okay.
So they can hear.
No, I think I can hear you. That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I am fortunate I have a voice that everybody can hear whether they want to or not.
Good, that's good.
I just wanted to say that the motivation for all of you is part of what the Israelis really imbibe and enjoy, because they realize, as was said, they're not alone. They're not isolated, that it's a Jewish people. You're all part of who they are, and you care about them. So what you did, just being there, was, I think, a fantastic thing, and it will be reverberate, and they will never forget the fact that you came. And I think that it is unfortunate that more people didn't get a chance to hear you, because you are actually a living inspiration for everybody, realizing that what you did was not easy. It was very difficult, I'm sure, but it meant so much to them and to us. Because I also feel, and I'm sure the feeling is shared, that I'm part of the Jewish people, you're part of the Jewish people, the Israelis are part of the Jewish people, we are one. And what you did is exemplary and just an inspiration and wonderful for them, for you, and for us. I am curious a little bit about some of the specific things that you might actually have done while you're there. I know that some have packed lunches, and but I don't know the other kinds of things that you did.
Our itinerary was set so that we can try to do a little bit of everything and try to help as many different groups. So one day we packed lunches for soldiers and needy families. One day we packed boxes of donations for displaced families. Another time there was an evening for in Kibbutz Harel, where they had a bunch of military families that the young couples hadn't had a chance to go out. The group sponsored a night out for the families. We tried to help as many people as possible, and also fill in the gaps wherever we could. We tried to talk to displaced families. It's one thing to hear about it on a macro level, displaced families, but in our hotel and other hotels nearby, go to the reception desk, you see bags of laundry. It's bags of laundry from people who live there. They live in a hotel room. They have been for 4 or 5 months without any kind of schedule for the kids, for the families, whatever it is. To see it firsthand is very, very powerful. To understand what they're going through is a firsthand, and to talk to them, and to see them, when my kid is misbehaving or not wanting to eat breakfast, it's just a kid being a kid, but it's when their kid is not eating breakfast, the hotel breakfast is going to close, and that's it. Their entire life has been turned upside down. So seeing that on a very micro level is also very impactful. Does anybody want to add? We also tried to do things for the soldiers. So one of the activities was tying tzitzit for the soldiers, which is something that a lot of them have been asking for, the religious and not religious, that they feel that it offers spiritual protection. And then right before we left, we threw a barbecue for an army base, and the gratitude on the soldiers' faces, and they came up to us, and it's not possible that someone put it up. Every single one of them put him up to it. Like, it couldn't possibly be that everyone's being sarcastic and like pranking us. They were really, really grateful. They really appreciated that people came, they fed them, they were happy to stay.
Thank you. Who else? Questions or comments? Yes, please.
I just wanted to thank everybody for the Shabbos dinner. My stepson was there. I really appreciate the fact that you took the time to meet with Beth Villa's sons as well.
The alumni dinner? Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, nobody talked about that actually.
Yeah.
Who's your son? Yeah.
Andrew Fleischman.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There were a bunch of.
Well,
Yeah,
they
it's
keep
really,
on,
really
they
nice.
keep on.
Yeah.
No, it's it's a nice way to circle everything in, because we said we send you, right, as many people feel from Beth Villa's. So now we have a parent of an alum that says, thank you for meeting my son in Israel and spending a dinner there.
So I can
That'd be
actually
great.
talk more about that, so that people on Zoom can understand what happened, so.
Yeah.
So on the Tuesday night that we were there, we arranged to have an alumni dinner for Beth Hillel alumni who are living in Israel. And we did it in a restaurant in Mamilla, so it was in Jerusalem. And we had people from all over. First of all, young people who are there for the year. We also had people who live in Israel long-term. It was very nice to see some familiar faces. That I'm class of 2003. So there was a friend of mine who came, and it was really, really special to see her. And then what we did was we felt that at this point it felt a little strange to have sort of a party, right? And that felt like maybe that was not appropriate. So what we did was we had two alum who are living in Israel and doing very meaningful things speak at the dinner. One of whom is Arky Stamen. He's class of 2009. I don't know if many people have heard of him, but at the very beginning of the war, he maybe went a little viral for having these very inspirational minutes. I don't know, yeah, like on social media. And his message was, in these times of darkness, we need to find light. And he had a whole campaign, go to Kabbalat Shabbat for, just to bring light to the world. And he's very inspirational. You can look him up, Arky Stamen. He is a tour guide in Israel. He lives there. And he came and he spoke about a little bit about what he does. He was called up to reserves the first, really on October 7th. So his unit, he never thought he would ever be called up. His unit is a unit that is, I don't know if people are familiar with Zaka, but what Zaka is, for the group, Zaka is the group in Israel that collects, what he said is respects bodies. He specifically said they don't call it collection, and they call it respecting the bodies. They go in and they respect all of the bodies of the people who were killed. And so Arky's unit goes in and does that for soldiers. But because everything was so, crazy on October 7th, they called up his unit, and his unit was the first unit into Kfar Aza. He talked a little bit about that, and just the dichotomy of having to, have light and remember, all the happiness and joy that exists in Israel, and having to do that. And he talked about how he was in Gaza. He had been in Gaza the week before. So he was very inspirational. And we had another speaker, Ephraim Shapiro, who was class of, I believe, 2008. And he spoke about an organization that he's involved in called Hagal Shali, which means My Wave. And it's an organization in Israel that it helps at-risk youth through surf therapy. But what they're doing now after the war, after the war started, is that they're also helping evacuees, and they're helping people who were affected on October 7th. And he described what they do and how they operate, and they're all along the coast. It was very interesting. And this is something that he's very involved in. So he was telling us about that, and it was amazing to see how many alumni were there and showed up, and really feel very, very connected to Beth Hillel. And that was a big part of this mission, was just to feel that we're bringing our community to people in Israel, but not just to people in Israel. We're also giving a hug to our people in Israel. So it was really a beautiful night. There you go. There's your stuff.
That's Andrew.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to. Right. I just wanted to add that each of the kids at this dinner were exceptional. And I was just blown away because to me, they're all products of BT and this community, and they were all very outgoing. They came up to us because we're not alum. So they came up to us, and I just was really taken back by every one of them no matter what they're doing there, if they're working there or they're, going to school, they're all volunteering. They're all doing what we did over 4 days, but they do it weekly. Yeah, so I just, BT's presence is there and, they're all helping, so just want to add that.
No, thank you. No,
Just one
Oh.
person regarding the great BT alumni. I was approached by one of the kids who he's not a kid, he's now whatever he's now. And he said to me, I know you, you umpired baseball for us several years ago. And it turns out I didn't realize who he was, but it's Eli Wahlberg is his name, but he recognized me and I said, yeah,
Last year.
it was this last year. He remembered me. And I just said, it just blew me away that a kid would remember me from all the games that they play. So BT, I went here too, by the way, but only went to 6th grade, so I can't take credit for anything beyond 6th grade. But anyway.
So this is a picture of us handing out gifts in, this is in Ely, in a settlement called Ely. And it was for young families who they just all kind of stormed the place because they just wanted games for their kids and have a good time. So we gave out games, and in each package, we put letters from our school. It was very powerful for me. It's like a lot of connecting points there. I felt like we were really agents of our community, and we must have brought over 300 letters there, maybe more. I couldn't count them. There were so many, and we handed them all out. And it was beautiful to see the reactions when people read the letters. The kids put their neshamas into the letters, and it was extremely powerful. I posted a few of them on my Facebook page, if you had a chance. And that was very powerful. I chose this picture because this seems rather arbitrary. I'm just standing here with a note from a kid at Beth Phila. But I think it's symbolic of the idea that every small thing counts. Sometimes we feel like we're not doing enough. We can't, even with what we do, it's like a drop in the bucket. But it really is every touch, every letter, every good gesture, every donation, every time you come to an event like this and you think about the hostage, you think about Am Yisrael, it makes an impact. It makes an impact on your neshama. It connects you more to the nation, and it has an impact on people in Israel. Can't downplay it. People have said that I heard people were carrying around some of the letters with them as they were going out to war. That's very powerful. And so it's just symbolic of that just a small letter. Don't downplay what your impact can be. You might not be able to get to Israel. You're here. That's great. And anything you can do just to put something out there. If you do it and I do it and our group does it, and other groups do it, have a huge impact. So that's this picture meant for me.
Okay,
Thank you all. Just to wrap up, I really don't have much that I can say more than you've already said and shared. I want to thank everyone for joining and for coming and over Zoom. Oh, there's someone at the chat. Let's see. Oh. Did any of the Israelis you met and spoke with have a sense of or ask about the climate of anti-Semitism that has appeared here in the US since October 7th? Big question, right? They obviously have more than enough to deal with there, but I'm curious if they get any news about what has changed for Jewish diaspora over the last few months.
I think they're, excuse me, I think they're very aware of what's going on here. The Israelis are notoriously on top of the news. They follow the news very closely. They're aware of what's going on politically here, socially here. I was asked questions after our formal trip was over by Israelis I know, and they wanted to know how things were for the Jewish people here too. So I think there is a mutual interest for sure.
Many people asked us things like, oh, what a mess out there, right? When are you moving to Israel? Like, we got it, we're here, we're good. What's going on with you guys over there? So they're very on top of it.
Yeah, just very similarly, I think that, you know, in Israel, like, they don't, it's a different experience. I think in some ways the anti-Semitism aspect is more shocking for us because we're not, and it's unfortunate to say, but we're not super used to this level, right? I mean, in Israel, like, they know what's at stake. And they know what they're fighting for, and I think sometimes here that gets a little lost. And when when we are faced with this now, it's exactly right. In Israel, they're like, oh, come here, we'll help you. And when are you coming? And so that was an interesting thought process, I think, for most of us on the group. But at least for me, I was like, okay, I felt like I was coming home. Like I didn't even feel it at all. Like you feel like you're in a bubble. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, I'll just add one more personal note. I stayed 4 extra days after the mission with a friend of mine who made Aliyah about 20 years ago. And he lives in a moshav in between Kiryat Gat and Ashkelon. So I've known him for a long time, and we were talking about that very subject of the nature of the anti-Semitism going on here in the States. And much as what was said before, he says, "When you get ready to come here, because it's on its way." But he listens to Fox News all the time, so I think it's in his mind that it's inevitable that doom is about to approach us. But I don't gravitate though. That's not either here nor there. But no, those, I think, Americans who have made Aliyah, I think, probably feel that way more so than the native Israelis. The native Israelis, I think, have their hands full just dealing with what they've got already.
Thank you.
I'll add my own personal note about this, that like a little after the war broke, if you remember, there was a rally in Washington. So we're planning here, going to the rally in Washington from the school, and people are talking, they don't know what's going to be. Maybe it's a little dangerous. Are we going on the rally or are we not? And this is in the time when Matan, my husband, is in Gaza, and I can't talk to him every day because he's off his phone and everything. And then at a certain point, I can talk to him and I tell him about this rally, and he goes, "No, it's so dangerous. I don't want you to go." Talking from Gaza, telling me, "Don't go to the rally in Washington because it's so dangerous." So I feel that sense is very, very true, that mutual sense of everybody's concerned about the other side or the other person on the other side. I want to finish with one little note about what Randy, you said, that the mental health crisis is really obvious, and there's a lot are talking about that in Israel now. But I feel like also us here, every one of us had a little bit of a mental health issue, because we all heard the stories, and even if we don't want to hear every detail, we know what's happening, and we know what happened, and it is so difficult to handle that and to carry that with us as parents, as educators. We wanna make sure that kids don't hear it, but we carry it ourselves. And I think this kind of evening, when you share your stories and talk about what you saw and really vent that to us, and we can hear that for both sides, it's really therapeutic. So I really want to thank you for sharing your personal moments there and the inspiring moments. And thank you again all for coming. I'll dare to say that if anybody has more questions or want to hear anything else, Rabbi Yogev was leading this mission very bravely. I don't know. I think it's a really big mission to lead this kind of mission. So thank you for that. And maybe you carry that position a little longer if anybody else wants to reach out, ask questions or anything. Rabbi Yogev's email, right, is out there. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Laila Tov.